Because tackling climate change is a shared mission for mankind, Egypt has set its policies based on joining hands to contribute to the establishment of an equitable, effective global mechanism on climate change to attain global sustainable development at high level and bring about a win-win cooperation. Egypt is one of the countries threatened by the effects of climate change. Although it is one of the least contributing countries in the world to greenhouse gas emissions, at a rate of no more than 0.6% of the world total emissions. Egypt's commitment to international global obligations to curbing climate change has been manifested through adopting principles of Rio de Janeiro Declaration 1992 and being committed to implementing the Kyoto Protocol, which Egypt signed 1994 and ratified 2005. Egypt has also signed and ratified Paris Agreement and is also committed to Bali Action Plan, which includes the additional commitments based on the Egyptian position asserted and the need to adopt the joint responsibility between developed and developing countries, and with regard to the responsibility of the bodies concerned with pollution in bearing the costs. Egypt stressed on the need that developed countries fulfill their commitment to transfer technology, financing, and capacity building to developing countries and not evade these commitments. The main pillars on which the Egyptian position is built on the issue of climate change are: first, adaptation. Adapting to the negative effects of climate change and facing risks must be our first priority, which must receive sufficient international attention to provide support from developed countries in the financial, technical, technological framework so that developing countries can face the dangers of climate change as they are the most exposed. Second, that spending on the adaptation and mitigation not to be at the expense of funds allocated to the efforts of combating poverty and achieving development for developing countries. In other words, the financing should be new, additional, and predictable. Third, the plans to reduce global warming should take into account the national conditions of the developing countries and its development ambitions, provided that these conditions include all elements of adaptation, mitigation, and means to implementation. Fourth, efforts to reduce global warming that occurred in previous developing countries need to be calculated from the share of these countries in the future. And this also includes the reduction achieved through the clean development mechanisms and projects financed with the participation of developing countries in terms of financing or implementation. Fifth, and last but not least, future vision of climate change issues must take into account the importance of establishing a permanent mechanism for response measures as an approved mechanism to compensate countries affected by the measures it has taken. It makes me proud to see Egypt on the national level working on reducing global warming. Egypt has set a strategy in 2022 with clear policies and action plan for implementation. Projects on the ground speak for themselves, replacing all transportation with modern ones powered by natural gas, the use of new renewable energy, focusing on recycling, green building, and waste management. Focusing on new and renewable energy. On adaptation and mitigation level, Egypt has exerted effort through reclamation of 1.5 million faddats and projects on the coast to protect the delta from the effect of climate fluctuation. Most important is working on raising public awareness, and hand in hand the civil society is working with the government so that we fulfill our obligations. Thank you.